X-Men. Get it!
Hey everyone, and welcome to another exciting episode of Battle of the Atom. This is your weekly X-Men podcast where we normally rank every story from A to Z.
I'm Adam.
And I'm Zach, and Adam, we're in the same room.
I'm sitting across the table from you. This is
weird.
Crazy.
Cheers!
Cheers! Woo! Clink! That's us drinking beers together.
We're drinking Three Floyd's Laser Snake, which is a good beer, actually.
And it has crazy art that's, like, great.
Yeah, y'all don't know about Three Floyd's, or maybe you do. They have Dark Lord Day and all that stuff. It's a good Midwestern brewery because the Midwest actually has the best beers.
I don't know about any of that, but it tastes good, so I'm happy. Zach, where are we?
We're in the C2E2 loft. This is where we're...
The X loft?
That's what we've been calling it. Me and Adam are here. A bunch of our other friends are here, and you'll hear them at the end of the episode. It's like Charlie and Chris and Christy and Thomas. You guys don't know Thomas. Well, you might. Who knows? He hasn't been on the podcast before. That's the important thing. But what I do want to let you know is that this is going to be a special episode celebrating C2E2 and all the really cool swords that we learned about here. You all know about X of Swords, right? Ten of Swords?
I was going to say, it's 10 of Swords, Zach. It's not X of Swords.
But shut up.
Everybody gets a sword.
We all have swords now.
If you had a sword, what would your sword be? Because iBoy has a sword and it's just covered in eyes.
iBoy does have a Soul Calibur ass sword. I think I make that joke later in the episode.
You can make it twice.
I can. I make the joke once to Leah and she makes better. No, I'd probably... Look, if I had a sword, it would be like just a very basic sword. It wouldn't be something that I could actually fight well with.
Okay.
It would look pretty dope. I like to think that it would have like a mahogany hilt guard, which is not practical.
Yeah.
But I think it would be pretty. What about you, Adam? What would your sword be?
I don't know. I'm trying to think. Like Cyclops has an I-beam sword. Storm has a lightning sword.
What if your sword just had like a pen nib coming off?
I was gonna
of it?
say like maybe it would have to be some kind of like pencil sword or iPad pencil sword or something like that.
I like this energy. So we have an excellent episode for you today. There's a handful of special guests live from the con floor. And if you haven't been to a convention...
It's noisy.
It's noisy. We're doing our best here. If you don't like the audio quality, sorry.
You will want to listen to these interviews, though.
We did our best. Yeah, the interviews are good. Who are some of the people we've got, Adam?
I mean, we have talked to just about every X person that was here. So for some artists, you're going to hear from David Nakayama, who has done a lot of X-Men cover art, a lot of variant work for Marvel. Adam Gorham of New Mutants Dead Souls fame, and Matt Horak and Rod Reis is also on the show talking about New Mutants. And you've pretty much sat down with just about every X writer that is here. So who have you talked to?
Well, Tini, Vita, Leah, Ed. I didn't talk to Gerry. You talked to Gerry.
I did. Gerry was great. Rockstar Gerry.
Who else? What's his name? Ben Percy. Mm-hmm. He's here. Jordan D. White's in the house. Is Hickman on this episode?
Not yet.
We
don't know.
We don't know. This is just everyone that we've recorded with so far on this, the end of the second night. Zach has a whole other day where he can get into shenanigans. But we don't know what those are going to be. So
yeah, Adam has already gotten into his shenanigans by accidentally getting into a fight with Chris Claremont.
Yeah, that's not recorded. Adam did get into a fight with Chris Claremont. Zach's going to see what he does tomorrow. I do have no time in the world to
just stay away from it. You don't want to do that.
I do have an unsigned copy of the New Mutants original graphic novel.
Yeah, and you have a God Loves Man Kills, don't you?
I don't have God Loves Man Kills.
Oh, you just have...
I just have...
Did you get it signed by Bob, the New Mutants?
I haven't done it yet.
All right, go get it signed by Bob. I gotta go
get Bob and Chris.
He's going to be much more chill for you.
Bob McLeod, he designed the New Mutants. You know them. They're your favorites.
Genuinely delightful person selling really good New Mutants prints, and I wish I had grabbed one.
Is he really?
Yeah, he's got a really cool original one. That's
Y'all,
nice.
I might have to go buy some New Mutants prints tomorrow from Bob McLeod, very famous artist. But that's going to be our episode. Before we jump into the interviews, we're doing this little bit of rambling, and I know this is looser than our normal format, but Adam, what's been your favorite moment of the con so far?
We have gotten the chance to go to X panels. We've gotten the chance to sit down with a lot of the X creators. I think genuinely it has been really cool twofold to hang out with all of our X Twitter buddies in person.
Right.
We have met with a nice group of fans over the course of the last 2 days who've like recognized us. And if you were one of those people, thank you. If you wanted to run into us and you haven't, I'm out of here on Sunday, but
Adam, they're not listening. This is
a
week and a half later.
About?
Yeah, no, this is so much later.
This is what happens when I eat a giant cheeseburger.
Oh,
with
you had a
on
big
top.
cheeseburger, and guys, we had the largest pretzel I've ever seen.
It was the size of a small baby. We couldn't
Thing was
eat it
2
all.
foot long.
No,
at least a foot wide.
It was too much.
We ate. Did we eat half that pretzel?
I feel like we might have even eaten more of it. I don't know. Give us at least a third. How's that?
No, I want to say half. I think we nailed half that pretzel.
Yeah, I would give us at least half.
Cheese sauce wasn't great. The mustard was okay.
No, a little on the chunky side. However, so aside from that, I just think it's been really great. We want to thank everybody who's on this episode because the X team has just been really warm and inviting, and we've just been kind of hanging with them over the weekend.
Except for Papa Hickman.
Papa has been grounded to his hotel room to work on scripts, and we understand why, because he has to get that stuff done.
He has to do that so that everyone else can do their job. And Papa Hickman, if you're listening to this, please come on our podcast tomorrow. I'm begging you, bud.
It's not live.
You.
He's not listening.
I know. Well, he has like special writer ESP, right?
Sure. Well, how about you, Zach? What's been the highlight for you?
It's been a big highlight meeting a bunch of fans and friends and stuff over this. It's been a super fulfilling weekend just hearing all you people say really nice things about us and then meeting people and just having a really good time. I've been stuck in Artist Alley, and I say stuck because I've put myself there because it's the friggin' best. There's so many super talented people here. Mm-hmm. It's all great. It's been a super fun show. Getting to see my friends has been great. Getting to meet Adam in person has been a super delight. Guys, he both exists and is good, actually. He's great. He's everything I wanted from an Adam and more.
Zach, you are everything I expected and more. It's been a delight to be in your personage.
Well, that's great. Guys, we won't keep you from the good content any longer. We'll be back at the end of the episode to chat. Adam's going to be on a plane ride by the time we do that, which is sad.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. But yeah, go enjoy our interview with Jordan D. White, starting now. We are here at C2E2. The X-Men panel just ended. This is Zach. I'll probably have done the intro already. I'm here with Jordan D. White, senior editor of the X-Men line. Jordan, let's talk about the big elephant in the room. 10 of Swords, bud.
10 of Swords.
So there's 10 swords.
That sounds like a reasonable assumption.
I mean, the press release said so.
Okay, then never
so
mind.
You're allowed to say that.
Good,
I assume everyone knows at this point.
Sure.
And it's a week later, so.
Gotcha.
Either way. So yeah, 10 of Swords.
Yeah.
This is spinning out of stuff that Tini was doing in Excalibur, which has a lot of swords, right?
There's going to be some Tini stuff. Basically, it comes out of stuff that Jonathan has been seeding and stuff that Tini's been seeding.
Right.
Both equally, and the two of them are collaborating on the story, and it's going to be crazy and awesome.
So this is a 15-issue crossover covering all of the books, is that correct?
Pretty much.
Okay.
And then some.
That's ominous right there.
Yes.
You think with the expansion of the line, folks are ready for a big crossover, starting from just 2 books to now hitting everything?
Let me just reassure people, it's not 15 issues in 1 month.
Okay.
But it's a lot of issues.
It's a lot of X-Men, but people like the X-Men now.
People do like the X-Men. Listen, I think it's going to be worth it, and I think the story is going to be important to all the books. It's our big X-Men story for the summer.
That's exciting. That's exciting to hear. Now, you got a lot of other stuff going on. You have, let's see, what's coming up
other
right now?
Other than the X-Men? Not really.
You got Ghost Rider. You got some other stuff.
Oh, sure.
But no, so the X-Men stuff. How have you felt the reception's been to the whole X-Men Dawn of X line as it's kind of come through in the last few months?
Oh, it's been really positive. It's been really terrific. I mean, people have been coming up to me at this convention and on the internet saying, like, I haven't read X-Men in years, and I'm back, and now I'm reading every week, and I love it. And that's so heartening. It just makes us feel really good that people can jump back into it and be as passionate about X-Men as they ever have been.
That's exciting to hear. Now, you got a lot of, big artists, big writers, big stuff. What has been the biggest surprise book for you? What really have you been like, this is blowing me away? I didn't know this was going to be here, and it's really taken me aback.
Interesting question. And
you better answer well, because Tini is within earshot.
Basically, first of all the books are great, and
right.
We didn't go to people and say, do this book, for the most part. A tiny bit, but mostly
a tiny bit.
I'm not going to say which one. Maybe one. But even then, we didn't go in the details. We kind of went, we need a book that does this kind of a thing. Everybody came to us with what they wanted to do. I mean, Tini has talked about how she came in and was like, oh, I want to do this book about like this magical stuff and things like that, which was not something we were expecting.
Right.
That all said, the one that probably took me the most off guard, like, what? Was probably Hellions.
Hellions?
Because I definitely was like, wait, why? What is happening? What?
You're talking about the Zeb Wells book that has Nanny and Orphan Maker in it?
Yes, I am. Nanny, Orphan Maker, Wild Child, Scalp Hunter. Like, again, it was like, wait, this is the team you want to pitch? What? And then again, once he starts explaining what he's doing with it, it's like, oh, yeah. Actually, I do want to read that book. And also, when you read Zeb's scripts, he's really good. He's a really good writer. He's terrific.
Funny.
Tini off mic just said he's very funny, which if you are reading...
interview, I'm back.
Tini, yours is later.
Yours
is later. We already talked about this.
By the time you hear this, I guess, maybe you will have read already Spider-Ham #3, but I read it like a day ago, and it was so good. It had such an amazingly great bit that is exactly something I'm a sucker for. A very Gwenpool bit.
A very Gwenpool, the mutant who lives on Krakoa and is definitely legally required to stay there and not get erased out of continuity.
She is absolutely a mutant. That absolutely counts. For real. We'll see where she pops up.
That's good. So we've got about 30 seconds left.
That was a hard out of 5 minutes.
I told you it'd be 5 minutes.
I thought that was an estimate. All right, let's do it.
No, I'm a professional here, Jordan. How tired of you of people asking about Baby Havoc and the lobsters?
Yeah, all right, yeah, yes. Very medium.
Well, then you should put Baby Havoc and the lobsters in some stuff. I don't know what to tell you, bud. You made promises you didn't keep.
I didn't actually.
You guys only revitalized the line.
In that picture that says all of this will appear, there was also like 3 Wolverines.
Yeah, and we have Wolverine in 3 different books, so I'm going to count that.
I don't know.
Well, I appreciate your time. I know you've got a con. Jordan D. White, everybody. Check out all the X-Men books. His name's on all of them. They are. It is. It's true.
No, of course. Except for X4.
Yes, that's a Fantastic Four book that's causing no shortage of yelling. And we have legally said we're not talking about that anymore on this podcast.
Sorry.
No, Jordan. Yeah, I'm going to end this interview now.
Bye.
All right, guys, we are here with Reis, right? Is it Reis or Reis? Reis.
Like ray gun.
Okay, so Rod Reis is here, artist on New Mutants, taking on all the artistic responsibilities there. How's that been so far?
It's been crazy because one of my favorite things in comics is Bill Sienkiewicz and Chris Claremont run.
Yeah.
So when they asked me to do this, I have to thank Jonathan Hickman and Jordan D. White and people at Marvel to trust me and to ask me to do that. It's crazy. I'm very honorable to bring back, because they said they're going to bring back the classic New Mutants. And they asked me this because they like my style, and to be honest, I have to say my style. We Bill Sienkiewicz and I we share the same sensibilities, artistically speaking. So everything was involved was ready, and our heart was in the right place. I think that you can see that in the book.
Absolutely. I am loving every single page you're making. There's definitely a kinship between you and what Sienkiewicz did on the original run. Before we talk about your artwork, how did you encounter those books? Did you read them as when you were a kid? Like at what point in your life did you read the original New Mutants run?
Yeah, I think I'm not sure. I was young. I'm not sure how young I was, because in Brazil, when is the first run? 80s?
Yeah,
80s,
early 80s.
Early 80s.
Yeah.
So I think it's late 80s.
That's when it got to you.
Yeah, because in Brazil, from the original publishing to the Brazilian Portuguese version, it was 5 years, something like that.
Okay. Don't worry about that. So let's talk about your style. You are working in a very painterly style, very different from a lot of the other house styles that we see at Marvel. And obviously, I think there's, like I said before, there's a kinship between what you're doing with the book and what Sienkiewicz did. How do you draw the line between what is maybe homage, like a tribute to what Sienkiewicz did, and then what's your style? Like, where's that line for you?
Okay. So, first, at Marvel, the biggest thing for me is that I can do my stuff. They allowed me to work that way because they have Mike Del Mundo, they have Phil Noto, they have artists that are different from each other and different from what you usually see out there. They are more open to different styles. So they allowed me to do my stuff, which is these 60s illustrators, these 60s move posters artists and fashion artists, and which is the same reference or part of the same reference as Sienkiewicz, but also you can see that on Phil Noto's art.
Yeah, absolutely.
And a lot of the illustration on Mike Del Mundo's art. I think we share some of this reference, and for this project, what I did was bring more of the 80s vibe to add to what I already had of Sienkiewicz. But I tried to do something on my own. I never tried to copy Sienkiewicz, but some things like in the last issue, I drew a white rose on
on Rain's head.
Yes.
Yeah.
That was on purpose.
Yeah.
That was what I could say a homage to the, something that he drew, some very specific. I drew that, but only for real fans to catch.
We noticed. It was great. I love little things like that. Now, John joked recently about sending you a script with very little time to actually finish the issue. Now, some people took that very literally and got on his case about it, but even Jordan talks about Hickman not necessarily always being on time with his stuff. Has there been a time crunch for you to wrap up an issue to get it to print?
Yeah, I can say that I wish I had more time because my work is very, it takes a lot of effort and a lot of work involved. It's it's the drawing and the painting, and so it's a lot of work. Sometimes I think I wish I had more time, but when he joked, he said that I did the issuing. I don't remember.
I don't know, like 2 days or
2
something
days,
like that,
yeah.
which is impossible.
Yes, and people believe it.
Yeah.
But let's say that I wish I had more time.
I think everybody would want that,
but,
right?
But that's okay. You do what you got to do.
Well, that brings me to, I want to talk just a little bit about your style before I let you go. So I'm seeing you work on commissions here, and you're using a wide variety of different artistic tools. Earlier today, I was here, I saw you working with crayons. Now I'm here, you're working on an apocalypse piece, and it's all in watercolors. What kind of materials are you using on the actual book?
001001110.
So everything's digital
Yes.
that we're seeing? Okay, what apps are you using? What programs are you using?
Photoshop.
Okay.
All Photoshop. I have brushes with painting textures and watercolor textures and different splatters that I use. So I try to do what I do on paper to do digitally.
Are you making your own custom brushes to try and figure that out, or have you found really good ones that you like to use?
Yeah, I found online some good ones. I try to custom some, some for paper, the textures, and but I don't like to have too much to use because I get lost.
Yeah. Well, it can get to be too much, right?
Yeah,
Absolutely.
I like to work with 3-4 types of brush, and try to with them do the painterly aspect.
Are you starting straight from in color, or are you just working up from a pencil outline? What's your working process like?
I don't have much of process. I like to draw digitally to the forms and the figures, but the backgrounds is pretty much straight to painting.
Okay.
To the part to the colors with no. Just little guides, just lines for me to understand what's happening. But pretty much backgrounds are straight to color part.
Okay. Ron, I know that you are very busy this weekend. You have so much commission work going on. I thank you so much for taking a couple minutes to talk to us.
Thank you for asking me to
keep
do
up
that.
the good work. It's very, very good.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Guys, we are here at Tini Howard's booth. Tini, you might know as she's writing Excalibur. It's really good, people. You know about that. Everyone likes it. It's the one with the magic and the swords. Now they all have swords, but that's fun. Tini, how are you doing today? How's the con going for you?
Great. We had the X-Men panel earlier, and we had a big X-Men signing. So it's been a great day here on Krakow with my fellow council.
With your fellow council, yeah. You're sitting in a murderer's row of Ben Percy, Gerry Duggan. Ed Brisson's not here, but he is here in spirit, and also he has his banner.
Yeah. Ed had travel problems.
Ed had travel problems, which we are all very sad about. But no, so I wanted to talk to you about Excalibur. That's your current book that you're really knocking out on, and it's exciting. So you are a noted fan of a lot of the characters that are in Excalibur. Was that the reason you wanted them on the team, or did you have to hold yourself back? It's like, I got to find an organic way to make this happen.
Well, for me, it was kind of that I love those characters, and I wanted to put them through a journey that I thought they all needed.
Right.
For me, putting a character in anything is I have a way to challenge them. I have a way to make them grow. I have a way to give them a win. I have a way to do something for them that narratively I think needs doing. So it's not wrong to say that I picked those characters because I love them, but because I love them, I know them very well. And they were characters who I was really interested in seeing, like, what the status quo on Krakoa is for them. You know, for Rogue and Gambit, a couple who's newlyweds, what's that mean on Krakoa for you? You know, especially and for someone like Gambit, confronting him with Apocalypse, like, was really important to me. With Richter, he was someone whose powers were really interesting to me in the context of Krakoa, as a landmass. And Richter's ties to that and his history of gaining and losing and being confused and difficulty with his powers. And Jubilee as someone who has a human child.
A dragon human child now.
Yeah. Those were all really important things to me that I was like, not only, wasn't that I love them, but it was like, because I love them, I want them on my team. And I want them with Betsy. I wanted Betsy to have people around her who were, X-Men in a way that she, as herself, has never really gotten to be, because old school Strike Betsy, no one liked her. The X-Men were mean to her. I remember that, even if they don't.
I mean, look, they were. She was doing a few murders.
Okay, look.
No, look, none of the X-Men have any ground to stand on about doing a few murders. That's fine. We all know that and love them for it. But now, it's very interesting. You've got a big character on there that I think a lot of people were surprised to see. He's everyone's blue dad. He's Apocalypse.
He's the blue dad.
And I'm allowed to say his name as Apocalypse, and only that. He will get mad at me otherwise. But now, what was it like bringing in a character who has been not just a villain, but like a big, like, Thanos level, very bad person villain?
So Apocalypse was like the first character that I really thought of, like, how does Krakoa change their life?
That's a bold first one. He now stabs people in an arena, so he's got a lot going for him.
Well, because there was nothing more compelling to me than, okay, we're going to give the X-Men everything they've ever wanted. Now what? What Apocalypse has wanted has come to pass, and it's not the Age of Apocalypse.
Right.
And that was really interesting to me as someone who we've always seen as, like, the, harbinger of this dark, terrible future. Like, seeing him as, like, a person who's like, no, but he's also very rooted in the past. He's very, very, very old. He's, I wrote a book called The Forgotten Queen, which was also about an immortal, and I've talked a lot about
that came out of Valiant, right?
Yeah, it came out of Valiant, and I always say that, like, I love writing immortals because they have 10,000 years to get good at stuff.
Sure.
And I love that about them because you still have to find, like, failings in them.
Right.
But Apocalypse was someone who instantly I was like, well, what does he do? And I was like, I think he seeks out the next thing. But not only is it the next thing, as we've seen from pages in his grimoire, it's something he may have been working on for a long time. And he's a little kindler, gentler Apocalypse, and that's deliberate, because now his battle isn't one that he needs to put on armor for. Now it's one he can walk out onto the battlefield with a cane and a limp.
You did say kindler and gentler. He vivisected someone, though? A little bit?
No comment.
Last question for you, Tini. In the teaser for Ten of Swords,
that's right,
which is a very, very good title.
Thank you.
We do see a, let's say, supporting character from your books showing up on that boy. We're talking about the original Captain Britain himself, Brian Braddock.
We're talking about Brian Braddock.
Any comment on how you've seen his character evolve from taking away his identity and now potentially giving him something else? I mean, he had the Sword of Might, and didn't really love that. Wanted to throw that in a hole.
Yeah. So you did see Brian.
We did see Brian.
That is Brian.
He's on that. He's wearing his old pajamas.
Yeah. He's got. We know that Brian has a thing going on with a sword.
He does have a thing going on with the sword.
So Brian's story right now is. It's kind of sad, right? Like, if you're following him right now, like, you're kind of worried about him.
He's very worried. I'm worried about him. I'm worried about his very sweet baby daughter.
Yeah, his sweet baby girl. But she's fine. She can talk.
She's frankly, of all the babies in this book, she's the most on top of it.
Yeah, she knows what's up. But yeah, I think it was important to me to think about not just, okay, we take the amulet from Betsy, or from Brian, we give it to Betsy. I love Brian Braddock, and I love Captain Britain stories, and I wanted to see what that does to Brian Braddock. And Brian Braddock has had some rough times, like
had a few bad ones.
Yeah, and so to me it was like, I don't want to just give him a bottle or a depression beard or whatever. Like, I want to, he looks great with a beard, true, but like I want this to be a challenge for him too. And if you're reading Excalibur, you know that the challenge is like that Betsy is very, as a citizen of two nations representing one nation, a lot of people in that nation don't like it. And Brian is going through something I think a lot of people have gone through, which is when you have a certain kind of privilege and people maybe attach themselves to you have to disavow that. And he's right now trying to get around that. He's like afraid of being the the face of good human English people, and he doesn't want that. He loves his mutant family very much. So he's going to have to find a way that he can serve what he believes in and the people he loves without serving people he doesn't want to.
Awesome. That is great to hear. I'm very excited to see where this goes. I'm very excited to hear that you've got a larger role in Ten of Swords, and ready to see that. Hope you have a good con.
Thank you, too.
All right, I am here with the one, the only, the spectacular David Nakayama. Most of you guys know him from his incredible variant cover work and regular cover work, for that matter.
Thank you.
Sometimes you see his artwork signed as DNA. Dave, how you doing?
Adam, hi.
I'm glad we're finally doing this.
Delightful to catch up with you.
Yeah, I feel like we said we were going to sit down at NYCC, and then just the timing didn't work out. So very glad to catch up with you here in Chicago. How's your con going today?
Oh, fantastic. I haven't been to the show ever. This is my first time here, and it's amazing. I walked in this morning thinking, I've heard the good things about this mid-sized show. Walk inside, and it's bigger than New York Comic Con. Like, wow, I'm blown away.
And less people.
I don't know about less people.
I'm not sure. Like,
there's so many
people. I'm trying to figure
here.
it out. Like, I can actually walk through this
That's
at
good.
this time, and I'm feeling good about it,
Yeah, I'll take it. It seems really busy to me. I haven't been able to sit down and draw all day because it's been constant, like, sign this, buy that.
That's great.
That's a good problem to have.
Excellent problem to have. So let's talk a little bit about your work, your style, and then we can talk about some of your upcoming stuff, which I think is pretty exciting. So,
love to.
The work that we're seeing on these covers generally are we looking at digital or are we looking at traditional materials?
90% of the time it's digital. It's just faster for me.
Yeah.
I sort of did this 12-year detour through video games. I'm what you call a recovering art director. And my love of comics, I would come home from the game job and start doing comic stuff at night, just like a second job almost, just because I loved it. I felt like something was missing in my life, and so I got back into it that way. But the reason I mentioned that is I had absorbed all these techniques from video games, working digitally, photo bashing, all this stuff, and became pretty good at Photoshop. So it's a faster way for me to work.
So everything we're seeing here, for the most part, when it's published, is coming out of Photoshop.
Yeah, there are some exceptions, like the House of X covers.
I remember you said you did those traditionally and then scanned them, right?
That's right, and then I add in a bunch of digital special effects and textures and stuff like that to make it stronger than I could achieve in traditional.
Have you found, what's your custom brush kind of system? Are you making your own stuff? Do you search out new stuff for new pieces, or are you pretty locked into what you like to use?
Well, at this point, I'm just basically using the same 10 brushes over and over.
Okay.
But in finding those brushes, it was challenging because there literally limitless options out there, right?
Yeah.
Artists are always trying to sell you their amazing 500 brush pack, of which you don't need any of them except maybe that one. And then Kyle Brush.
Kyle Webster, yeah.
He's great. Definitely some of his brushes. I've got some True Grit brushes, and I guess over the years I just sort of played with them until I found the ones that I like, and now I don't really feel that impetus to delve into it too much more, just because I found ones that do what I need to do.
Yeah, and your style is so distinctive.
Oh, thanks.
And I find it so unique compared to some of the other things that we're seeing out on the market. It makes a lot of sense why they come back to you time and time again for these cover art pieces. So I wanted to talk to you briefly about something you just started posting on Twitter, which was that we just came off the heels of Toy Fair a couple weeks ago, as the time this episode airs, and you're doing some of the card art for that, correct?
Yeah. When I went freelance a year and a half ago, I acquired a new client sort of out of nowhere, which was Hasbro. And I've been doing a lot of package art for them. And that included things like Deadpool's motor scooter and all sorts of things. But recently, the one we're talking about right now, it was just announced at Toy Fair, was the Age of Apocalypse line, which includes 7 figures. Mm-hmm. They are, let's see, Sunfire, you can help me. We got X-Man, Jean Grey, Weapon X Wolverine, Wild Child.
That's so weird that there's going to be a Wild Child.
Isn't that strange? Like, I don't know who was clamoring for that one necessarily, but it does help fill out the
the
whole look.
Yeah.
And a couple more. And look, amazingly, it was my first set where I did all the art, all 7.
It's really cool. I mean, I've seen the stuff that you've been posting, the ones that you've been allowed to share, and it's just great to see. Your style, I think, lends itself to that kind of promotional artwork style that you might see on the back of a box.
Thank you. I do think of myself as an illustrator first, so I'm very focused on doing a very elaborate piece that really gets into the weeds of the details and texture. You know, a lot of artists don't really think about texture. I think a lot about texture.
Yeah.
Ironically, that particular set we're talking about, they wanted me to draw in a 1990s
style.
Retro style.
That's interesting.
So if you look at it, it's all line art. It's got liquid style coloring. Remember Liquid?
Yep.
Back in the day?
Yep.
Preeminent colorist house. So I was trying very much to do something that was reminiscent of that time.
Okay. I think you're succeeding. I really like it. And so are you a big Age of Apocalypse fan?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah, I mean, we've been talking a lot about X-Men recently because of, this association with Age of Apocalypse. Mm-hmm. And my eras of X-Men that I've really enjoyed were, the Jim Lee era when I started.
Of course.
That's what got me into comics and art simultaneously, all at the same time.
Yeah.
And then later on, there was the Joe Madureira era. That was a big deal to me. It proved to me that X-Men wasn't just a one-shot thing where only Jim Lee could do it right.
Right.
Other people could come along and do X-Men and it could still be awesome.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, and they were actually just talking about this upstairs at the panel, that like the artists as you go through is kind of like the murderer's row of amazing, you're going from Byrne to like John Romita Jr. through Silvestri up through Jim Lee, and it just continues.
Absolutely. I mean, for the longest time, X-Men is the book where you put your best Marvel artists.
Yeah.
Just time after time, and that continued for a long time. After that, it was more the stories that mattered to me. I don't know whether it was because I was getting older or the artists I liked weren't necessarily on the books, but you have the Morrison era was very important to me, and now Dawn of X under Hickman is scratching that itch for me.
Good. I'm glad you're really enjoying it.
Yeah.
So what's next for you? I mean, you're doing what I've seen a lot of lately is what we see in front of us on your table, which is the Spider-Man variants. Are they tapping you to do, without spoiling anything that you can't talk about, are they tapping you to do a lot of work?
Yeah, fortunately, I'm busier than ever.
Good.
Plenty of Marvel stuff. Plenty of Hasbro stuff, thank God.
You're working for Valiant, right?
Doing some Valiant stuff now,
Quantum
too.
and Woody.
Yep, but also Actual Man of War, Shadow Man, Bloodshot.
Very cool.
All my old favorites,
Well, it is great to see that you are being so prolific and ubiquitous out there with the publishers. Dave, it's been a real pleasure. Thank you so much for taking some time.
Thanks for having me. Great talking with you.
No problem.
Guys, I'm here at C2E2 with creator Ed Brisson. You might know him from Uncanny X-Men or Old Man Logan or Dead Man Logan or all the Glob Herman good stuff or X-Force or the currently running New Mutants. Ed, how are you doing today?
Doing okay. I'm
doing okay?
Yeah.
Doing okay? Finally get your flight in?
I finally, after 38 hours, got here.
Well, that's good. So we want to talk to you. Right now you're working on New Mutants, which is started out with an interesting structure.
Yes, that is true.
It is true, and now it's kind of coming together under you with the two teams a little bit smushing into their own little group here.
Right, yes.
Now, I guess for, moving forward, what would you say is the mission statement of this book? Where do you see this book fitting in the wider line?
I find that what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to find a place for the New Mutants while they're trying to find their place. Like find where they fit into this new sort of world that they're living in. And you know, they can't be like, you know, backup X-Men forever. So I want them to have, you know, they're trying to stretch their legs and sort of exercise their own autonomy. They're largely running under the motto of easier to beg forgiveness than ask permission. And so they're kind of, where they see a need, they're going out and trying to fill it. And causing some problems for mutants along the way as sort of incidental blowout from it. So, they're well-intentioned, but you know, there's going to be fallout coming that's like slowly building with the books that will sort of land on their doorstep.
That's good. That's good. Now, you were one of the writers who had been working on the books before the big Krakoa shakeup.
Yes.
How would you describe the difference in mindset? Because I mean, the editorial teams mostly stayed the same.
Yeah.
So jumping from that paradigm to the new one, how's that been like from a writing standpoint, from a working collaborative standpoint?
It's been interesting because it's in a lot of ways, it's now a lot more restrictive, but also weirdly freeing. In that, you know, I think we can do things with the mutants that we'd never done before.
Right.
We push them in different ways. I think, like, you know, it's, I feel like, I guess one sort of complaint about X-Men in the past is that it always seemed to be backward looking, you know, always like nodding to the past. Where this one, like, we're trying to push the future, so it's more forward progression with the stories. And, you know, I think it's just, no, it's just interesting that, you know, we can mix and match, you know, have like bad guys together, have old enemies sort of make peace and break bread together. And but like in terms of like working on it, it's just, you know, beyond those rules, it's the same. For me, it's just X-Men, you know. I just adjust myself to the rules and sort of push forward, and it doesn't feel a ton different, other than, you know, you've got Jonathan looking over your shoulder, which nobody wants, trust me.
No, that's good. Now, adjacent to you is the Ghost Rider book that you've been writing right now, which is starring Johnny Blaze as the King of Hell.
That's right. I guess people can't see nods on the podcast, but yes, that's correct.
Yes. It is an audio medium.
Yes.
And recently, you've brought in his brother in an interesting role, especially as a callback to a pretty classic storyline. I know my co-host Adam loves it. The Hearts of Darkness.
Yes.
What brought that as, you know, you want to go back and say, let's go do Hearts of Darkness, or riff off of that?
It was a little bit of editorial, like we were looking at things we could do, but also I'm trying to remember what issue was that, so I don't spoil anything.
The first one of that. He is the spirit of corruption, and there's like a murder or something.
Yes. Okay. So so I haven't really gotten into the black heart of it all.
Yeah,
but,
he showed up.
He showed up at the very end, right? Yeah.
He was like, I'm here.
But really, like, we want to play around with like the hell's not technically up for grabs, though. I think all the people who want to sit on the throne are treating it as though it is up for grabs, and so with the Hearts of Darkness is a way for us to bring Blackheart into it, because you know, it's clear now that Lilith is trying to remove Johnny from the throne, and really Blackheart. You know, if Mephisto's not on it, Blackheart feels that Blackheart should be on it. You know, he's the Prince of Hell. It's by right his. So we needed a way to bring in Blackheart, and doing Hearts of Darkness again seemed like the right way. It seemed like, you know, a nice throwback. We're doing like a lot of nods to 90s stuff, which is the 90s Ghost Rider was my introduction.
You're a Danny Ketch guy?
I was a Ketch guy first. I love Johnny Blaze. But Ketch was my intro to it. All the Howard Mackey stuff was my intro to it.
Awesome.
And so I've been trying as much as possible to nod to a lot of the 90s stuff, and where we can pull on threads from the 90s and sort of weave it into the story that we're telling here, do that. And, you know, Hearts of Darkness obviously fits quite well with that.
Now, one last question, because I couldn't leave this without talking about the boy. Glob Herman.
Yes.
You've done more for Glob Herman, I like to think, than any creator beforehand. I've got to ask, why do you want him to be sad all the time? Why do you want him to sit under mistletoe and just wait for someone to finally come and love him?
I want him to be happy, but he's just, we just gotta find a way for him to be happy. But, in a lot of ways, he's the Charlie Brown of the X-Men, right? Like,
right.
Charlie Brown never really gets to be happy. And, maybe we'll see a happy Glob one day. In upcoming issues of New Mutants, I've given him a new hobby.
So he returns. The boy does return.
Oh yeah, he's back.
Half the podcast loved this, half the podcast hated it.
Yeah, they're not Glob fans.
I like to think you either love Glob or you cannot stand Glob, and there is no middle ground.
I don't know how you can have a heart and not like Glob.
Absolutely, Ed. Thank you so much for your time.
Problem,
really appreciate it.
All right, we are here with Matt Horak, comic book artist extraordinaire. Matt, for some of our Battle of the Atom listeners who may not be familiar with your work, where can people find you? What are you best known for?
I drew The Punisher with Becky Cloonan for about a year, and then Spider-Man Deadpool for about a year. Drew both of those books till they were canceled.
All right, now... Hopefully not. You don't feel like responsible for that, right? No, of course not.
It's just how things go.
Okay, so Zach and I are here. We were just flipping through some of your work. You have almost like a chameleon-like ability to mimic other styles. How do you go about doing that?
I've always trying to tinker with people's styles and figure out how they do what they do and take what I can take from it. And then I just do my best. See if I can. Actually, often I'll go look for a video and see if I can find a video of them actually drawing to see if I can see what they're doing or glean something from their approach. But then, it's obvious. Like I did the Prisoner X fill-in pages, and I did some Moon Knight fill-in pages and tried to match both those artists. And I was much closer to Herman Peralta's style than Ibrahim Mustafa. So sometimes it's easier than others.
Yeah, I would think that there's a little bit of a daunting feeling when you have to follow up Herman Peralta.
Yeah.
That series was a personal fave of ours. We absolutely loved it. And you did a very spectacular job in finishing that up. So,
thank you.
What was that experience like working with Vita to finish up Prisoner X?
It was great. It was one of those things where I read all the rest of the issues when they asked me to come do the fill-in pages, and it was a really good book, and basically my pages were the climax of the book, so I felt a lot of pressure to stick the landing for him and not let him down. And Herman's work, he works with washes, and I've used washes a few times, and like I was saying, looking at his work, I could kind of see the bones, I could see how it worked. So it's easy for me, and like I said, thankfully I had some experience with washes, so it worked, thankfully.
So when you're doing your pages, we're talking traditional materials, or do you work digital?
For the most part, I basically do my layouts and my pencils digitally, and then print them out and
that's interesting.
And do traditional finishes.
Okay.
Unless I run out of time, and then I have done digital finishes sometimes.
That's interesting. So what are you using to do your baseline, penciling on
Procreate? Procreate on an iPad. Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah. So you're like full on tablet digital.
Yeah. I use Photoshop, so I move the files back and forth from Photoshop to layout, because Procreate doesn't have good measuring tools.
That's a very good point. It needs some better rulers in there.
It does.
Right?
It does.
For guys.
So that's one thing. So I'll set my everything in Photoshop and then bring the template over and draw, and then bring it back to Photoshop to finalize it and print it out. So,
that's great.
Yeah.
So when you're working in traditional, what kind of materials are you using to finish off a page?
All kinds of stuff, mostly markers though.
Okay.
Tombow brush pens and microns and Posca paint pens and whatever else I can find, I also like these, like the Micron number 2, which is like the calligraphy pen, like the wedge one.
Yeah.
I like using that. I get different textures with that.
Okay.
So, but I mix in a bunch of different stuff. I learned a regular dip brush and dip pen before, but I don't have the patience for dipping over.
That's a daunting skill, to say the least, right?
Not to mention you lose, especially a brush, you lose that ability to ink with a brush pretty quickly if you don't do it regularly. So.
Yeah, it definitely takes, and then you run the risk of ruining your page, right?
More than I ruined them already.
Have you had that happen where you've destroyed a page mid-flight?
Usually I'll make the decision early enough that won't get that far and waste that much work before I retool things. And that's one of the reasons I do so much penciling and preliminary work on the iPad is the flexibility to change it. There's so many times I'm teaching comics to now at
really?
Yeah.
Where are you teaching?
Cleveland Institute of Art.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah. It's pretty crazy. I went there for 1 year. I shouldn't tell the story, but whatever. I went there for 1 year and I was on disciplinary and academic probation when I left, and now I'm teaching there.
Hey, you're a good role model.
Yeah. I haven't told the students yet.
Okay.
But a lot of them are illustration students or concept designers, so they don't really have that much comics experience.
Yeah.
So I talk about, like, when you're breaking down a script, often I'll, like, one panel or one image I'll see it in my head, like I'll know how to frame that one, and I'll use that panel, like I'll do that one first and then build the rest of the page around it.
Yeah.
Find myself an anchor, even if it's a small panel. And so many times digitally I'll do that and then I'll end up abandoning that layout entirely, and that first image I had in my head I don't end up using. Or I save it and move it and change it around. So I don't know. It's anytime I have to just do it just pencil on paper now, I'm like, I don't remember.
A little bit daunting, right?
Yeah.
So we're primarily an X-Men podcast.
Yeah.
You've worked with Deadpool, who's X-Men adjacent, right? We would never refer to him as an X-Man for purists. But is there an X property that is like your personal favorite that you'd love to work on it someday?
All of them?
All of them?
I mean, that was my favorite comic when I was a kid.
Okay. Yeah.
I mean, I grew up in the 80s, so the, Ramita, Silvestri, into the Jim Lee stuff. So I would love all that. Brown suit Wolverine, brown suit Logan.
There you go.
I keep seeing Benjamin Percy around here, and I'm like, hey,
yeah,
buddy,
just nudge him a little bit,
buddy,
right?
You guys need a fill-in, call me up. And I just did a couple Wolverine commissions, and it's really fun. I love drawing him all chonky and looking like a big baby.
Yeah, I don't love reading Wolverine as much as I like drawing him. He's so much fun to draw.
Yeah.
Matt, thank you so much for taking the time.
Yeah,
I hope you have a great convention, man, and I wish you luck in the future.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Guys, we are here at the end of day 2 of C2E2. This is Zach. I am standing here with Ben Percy, writer of Wolverine, and what's the other? X-Force. It's really good. I think about it all the time. Ben, how are you doing today?
I'm good. Thanks for talking to me about the mutants.
So, Ben, first thing, we got to just get this elephant out of the room. You have a really deep voice. Have you had that your entire life?
Yeah, I came out of the wound sounding like this.
That's good. That's good. That's good.
The doctor slapped me and then I punched the doctor.
That's an exciting truth.
You think this is? You should hear my grandma.
That's very good. Now, this deep voice and the beard and the general Canadian aesthetic, that goes really well with writing everyone's favorite knucklehead, Wolverine. You just knocked out the first issue, correct?
That's right, and he is my spirit animal. I know this sounds a bit corny, but it's a dream come true writing him because I've been following Wolverine stories my whole life. I'm really grateful to be a custodian of everybody's favorite knucklehead for a while.
That's good. Now, the structure of the book you're doing, it's kind of split into 2 stories, correct? At least here up front. One with legendary artist Adam Kubert. Adam and Andy, they shouldn't have had A names. It's a real problem. They both did X-Men. I keep throwing it through.
And then rising star Victor Bogdanovich.
That's exciting.
The way that we wanted to throw out this first issue is, if you pick up your standard first issue, 20 pages, people are like, I think this is good.
Right.
But we wanted to, smack people across the face with something substantial.
Right.
Like, this is 80 pages of mayhem. And it's tonally variant. With Adam, I built a crime story that has kind of a Michael Mann vibe to it. And then you have the Victor Bogdanovich story, which is more shadow-soaked and horror-tinged.
Yeah, there's Dracula's in it.
That's right. I've always been interested in villains that are dark mirrors to the protagonist.
And you see Dracula as a dark mirror to Wolverine.
I do, because he, like Wolverine, is eternal. And so the question is, if you have these people who have a stake in the world, a long-term stake in the world.
Right. Dracula doesn't like those, but go on.
Well, right, exactly. How are they gonna make use of their time here? And in the case of Dracula, there's also the question of Wolverine's blood.
Right.
And how it could be of use to him.
That's That data page at the end did throw some people for a loop about how he has eternal mutant blood or whatever he's got nowadays.
That's right.
That's exciting. Now, would you consider, what would you consider the best Wolverine versus Dracula story before yours, obviously? There is a wrong answer and there is a right answer.
Well, all I'm going to say is that I'm not looking to do any sort of greatest hits, cover band, nonsense in my approach to Wolverine. I want to tip my hat to the legacy of the character and all the great creators who came before me. But we are looking, Adam and Victor and I, to make this our run.
Your run. That's exciting to hear. Now, switching gears over to X-Force, you've got a big team here. You got a big team in the Mutant CIA. How have you been trying to manage that? I know you've been jumping around a couple different storylines, a couple different groups of the team. But
the dangerous thing about any team book is that you can thin out characterization.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think it's essential to do both a macro and a micro, sort of vision of the team. Where here I have big moments with everybody, and then I go and spotlight a character and really dig into them psychologically.
Mm-hmm.
So you're seeing that right now with Domino.
Right.
You'll see that later on with Quentin Quire. Right?
We're going to get some of the Pink Boy.
Oh, yeah.
It's exciting.
It's time for some reinvention.
Reinvention of Quentin Quire. I think that is quite an idea here.
Hey, we've got a paradigm shift, right, with Krakoa, and it's time for this character to maybe reassess who he is and how he's perceived.
That is exciting to hear. Now, the last project that you had that just came out recently, I was a big fan of it. We're talking about Weapon Plus World War IV, all about manslaughter. He's the Man-Thing with a Gatling gun.
Of course, it looks like World War IV, but if you look at it a little carefully, just like the title of Jordan Peele's Us, which can be read as U.S., World War IV.
Yeah, I'm really mad at Chris Robinson for all of that. I've told him how that and the Venom one being 5 is just like, I don't like it, but it's very good.
Yep. Well, this is the first appearance of the character, and though I can't say anything, might be more coming. And, if you look at what's going on with this character and his power set, and you look at what's going on with biotech on Krakoa, it seems like there might be an inevitable collision.
That is exciting to hear. I know there's a lot of people who are looking forward to it. Anything else you want to pitch while I got you on the mic here? Anything that you want to make sure people know about this coming up from you?
I just want to say thanks to all the fans who are checking out Wolverine and X-Force. It really means the world to me.
Awesome. Hey, Ben, thank you for your time.
Thank you.
All right, we are here with Adam Gorham. You know him best as the artist of the amazing New Mutants Dead Souls. Adam, how are you doing?
I'm very well. Thank you for having me on.
It is my great pleasure. You are, I think, one of our favorite artists. You've become synonymous with the character that you're working on a commission with right now. You're drawing Ileana, complete with some armor, and she's got her soul sword.
That's right.
Can you talk a little bit about what this character means to you?
Well, it's, I guess, kind of a love story. Like, growing up, I was an X-Men fan growing up, but really didn't get into New Mutants ever, to be honest. A lot of these characters I would, know about or would get impressions from because they appeared in other titles. And I think that the first time that I ever really read a comic that featured Ileana was an Age of Apocalypse story where Colossus goes to rescue her from the Sugar Man's dungeon.
One of the best.
Yeah.
Generation Next.
That's right.
All-time classic.
And so that was really the first memory I have of ever reading her in a comic. And I would get hand-me-down books from different people who were unloading stuff, and so there were New Mutants, books within that, but I never ever read like a complete run or anything. And so fast forward years later, when I would work on the title, talking with Matt Rosenberg about what we wanted for the book and what we were trying to go for. We got to talk about the character a lot, and so that's when I kind of, saw her through, what she was known to be already, but also what we wanted her to be in our series. And so that was a really cool opportunity to get to know her as a person, because this is like she was in the leadership role, but also kind of have some fun with her in terms of like style and like it's fun to think of a character not just in terms of like their abilities on a team, but also what do they enjoy when they're not on the clock? Who are they when they're like in their downtime? And that was something that we got to show a little bit, but certainly Matt and I had talks about that in a larger sense privately.
Well, let's talk a little bit about what you just mentioned with the design of Ileana in that series, because I think you did have some heads turn, especially with the way you clipped her bangs.
Yeah.
Just presented her in a more classic format when people have been very used to the Bendis era Pachalo design for a while.
Yeah. I was, it was obviously nothing against that. It was just me wanting to try something different and wanting to set our book apart from what had already, been established. So I was in the process of working on character designs with my editor Darren. This was just from a pure costume perspective, but I felt like the costumes weren't enough. I wanted like a more uniform.
Yes.
Something like jumpsuits that they would all be wearing, but obviously to set them apart, I wanted to give them each a little something. So at one point I was trying so hard to give Strong Guy a beard throughout.
Oh yeah.
They were just not having it, and it was like, and Matt I think gave Strong Guy a mustache, and his what was it, the title escapes me now, but at any rate, so I was looking to like lean into Ileana's goth sensibilities. And one of the things with the bangs in particular, one of the things that kind of drove that home for me was my own daughter, who had, for some reason, decided to cut her hair in class. So I picked her up from school one day and was like, "What's up with your hair?" And she was like, "I cut them." And I cut my hair with safety scissors, and it was just like
kind of crooked.
It was like roughly hewn. It wasn't even like clear cross either. It was like she clearly had started and then panicked and gave up and just hoped that I wouldn't notice.
Yeah.
And there was just something about that I wanted to, just between me and my daughter, it was such a nice moment, and I wanted to kind of bring that into what I was working on. So it was a small epiphany that she was responsible for. And that kind of got the ball rolling with how I wanted her look to be, and so the bangs was a departure. I wanted to kind of get rid of her eyebrows. So my partner has fair eyebrows, and so it made sense for me to if somebody who's stark blonde to render them in black seemed wrong. So I would either make them really wispy, suggest them, or just not have them at all. And then I felt would kind of draw you to her eyes more than anything else. And so, in my own sketchbooks, I played around a lot with her eye makeup, which I had either black or red. And the red, I remember doing a color note with red pencil crayon and stuff. So with the red eyeshadow and whatever, it made it look like she'd been pepper sprayed.
Oh yeah.
Which I'm kind of into, but I can see why they wouldn't want that.
Yeah.
So I pushed it as far as I could go, and it was really when she was in her civilian clothes, or at in the funeral scene, where she got to really goth out. But I'd like to think that it carried no matter what.
Absolutely. Can you talk a little bit about your technique? Looking at your sketchbook right now, we've got a blue line pencil underneath, and then we're using brush pens.
Yeah, I change up a lot, but for my base sketch I'll use blue line, in some case even red line, or red pencil crayon. And sometimes I will use pencil, but whenever I draw something in pencil, I feel compelled to erase it afterwards, and that can lead to some, smudging of ink, or the ink fades a little bit. So I avoid that, and I feel like with the blue underdrawing underneath, it kind of makes the black lines pop a little bit more.
Sure.
It's got this 3D effect to it. So I've gotten a lot more comfortable just doing that, and then I'm using a Copic multi-liner soft brush pen, which I don't use a lot, to be honest. I normally use a Pentel ink brush with a cartridge, but it just so happens that my cartridge is dying at the moment. I brought backups, but I just, I have a kit, and I tend to just grab whatever is nearest in reach and work with it, and different tools will bring out different aspects of my drawing ability. But I'm, feeling comfortable with this so far.
Now, as someone who works digitally myself, I am always amazed when you post process videos of you doing your inking, because you are often using either an actual brush or a brush pen and doing these very, very delicate things with that brush. And I'm always like saying a little prayer, whatever you're gonna, and some people are commenting, oh, this is so relaxing. And I don't know, for me, it's like very anxiety inducing to watch. So what is it for you? Do you find the process of inking like restful, or is it a little bit of a blood pressure raiser for you?
It's it's both at different times, and a lot of it just comes down to how well I see it, or how much I've thought ahead. So sometimes inking is very joyful and blissful, and I just relax. It's very soothing. And then other times, like, I'm clenching my jaw, I'm gritting my teeth, and it's kind of like I'm watching every line. And I suppose it just depends on how precious something is to me at the time. Yeah. Or whether, like, I'm in the, if I put myself in a headspace where it's like, whatever it's going to be, it's going to be. So it just depends on either, like, what I'm drawing, how much I care about it, or whether I've talked myself into thinking, like, it's going to be good no matter what.
That's a good idea. Get in that headspace.
You'll hear people talk about sculpting as if, like, the sculpture was always in that block of granite. So sometimes I'll try to think, like, well, the drawing's already there, just making it happen.
That's good. I want to talk to you briefly about your sensibility. I think the biggest work that people might know you from for the last year is not a Marvel property, but you've been working on Punk Mambo.
Yeah.
I feel like your art in general has kind of a punk sensibility to it, and I'm curious if you agree with that, and whether you feel like you bring that to the work that you do.
I don't know if because I myself, like, I wouldn't consider myself to be like a punk. I'm super square. I'm not very interesting, and I'm like...
You can still be punk and not be super interesting.
Well, I suppose so, but I guess I'm a pretty mellow guy, and that's not what if I were to describe myself, punk would not be it. But I think, comics and comic art is like, in a way, it's like inherently punk, because it's, it's part of a counterculture. And a lot of ways that people get started in comics is just, it's a do-it-yourself mentality.
Yeah, definitely.
You know what I mean? Like, there's no comics corp that you go and submit a resume to. Like, you make books by just picking up whatever tools you have at your disposal and making them, and nobody asks you to do it. And a lot of times, like, a lot of people just don't believe in you. So people who make comics, to me, are like, they're all rock stars. And in fact, a lot of times when people ask me how to break into comics or how to find comic work, I've likened it to starting a garage band. You know what I mean? Like, you find your instrument, you learn to play it, you don't ask anybody's permission, and you just bang it out at home. And it might turn into something, it might not. You might play shows at bars, or you might, reach a place where you're playing stadiums. But the bottom line is that, like, anybody who chooses to do it can do it. And so, I was kind of a do-it-yourselfer. Like, when I decided to start making comics, like, I just went out and I found a gig and I just did it and hoped that it would work out. And so, I guess in a way, that's probably the most punk that I've ever gotten.
I think that's an amazing metaphor, though, to think about it as that DIY, because it really is.
Yeah, in my mind it works. And I find that the people who are most passionate about it aren't doing it with, with high hopes of it becoming like a franchise or anything like that. They're just people who desperately want to tell their stories, hopefully find an audience. And that's a huge part of why I love comics and why I love being a storyteller is because it's the medium is pure in that way.
Yeah.
And I, having worked on a character like Magic or Punk Mambo most recently, it's funny because for a long time I was not very confident drawing women.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it was like something that I just, it was easy for me to draw guys because I could see, being a guy, I had that to work with right away.
Right. Yeah.
I was familiar with that anatomy, and I wasn't so much familiar with female anatomy, and so it would stump me sometimes, and so I had to really work at it, and now I'm at a place where I'm a lot more comfortable with it. Mm-hmm. But I remember there was a time where I would get nervous about having to draw, women characters, and so that's, I guess the universe felt like, no, you gotta
get into it.
Yeah, you gotta defeat that by sending me these projects. So, but I'm happy that I've gotten to a place where it's these are characters that I guess I'm best known for.
Yeah.
Because they're characters that was a time I would have been frightened of doing.
So, speaking of projects, what can people expect from you in 2020?
A lot of cool stuff, if I'm being honest. So at the moment I'm working on something with Valiant, which they'll announce. I'll let them announce that, but that you can expect that in 2020. I've done an issue of Savage Avengers, number 12.
Cool.
It's coming up, and there's some really fun stuff there, featuring Elektra, Doctor Strange, and Conan the Barbarian. And I'm doing the 2020 Ninja Turtles annual.
Oh, nice. I think I saw the cover for that.
Yes, it was just released recently.
Yeah.
So that's really cool. It picks up some of the pieces from the milestone issue TMNT 100. Mm-hmm. So Tom Waltz is writing it, so I'm very excited about that. I'm also doing a ton of new cover work with, I don't know if it's been announced yet per se, but with Vault I'll be like a regular cover artist there. So that's going to be really cool. And then I've got some creator-owned stuff in the works.
Oh, all right.
With some pretty fun writers.
Very cool. Adam, thank you so much for taking the time. Just an amazing artist, and wish you nothing but the best.
Well, thank you very much.
We are here on the con floor of C2E2, and I'm here with Vita Ayala. Vita, how are you doing today?
I'm doing fantastic.
It has been so long since we got a chance to chat.
Yeah, gosh, not a whole year maybe, but
before Prisoner X came out, I think.
And it's been almost, it's been like a year.
Hey, you're doing a lot of good comics now. What's up with that?
I got really lucky, and I made a deal with the devil.
Okay.
No, just kidding.
As you do.
Crossroads Demon. No, I'm very lucky that people continue to support me, and so my editors also keep wanting to support me and give me more work and work with me.
That's good to hear. Now, let's talk about what you've got going on right now. That is, of course, the book everyone is excited about, Nebula. What's up with that?
I'm having a great time.
Claire doing an incredible job on the art on that one.
She's one of my favorite artists working in comics, period. That's true. And to be able to work with her a second time we worked on a Wonder Woman story before, so that was one of the highlights of my career. But then being able to work on another book with women with beautiful shoulders and arms has just been a blessing. And there will only be beefier, more arms. Just, they're coming.
You heard it here, folks. We're going to get some beefy arms in Nebula.
Yes. This is not a spoiler because they solicit covers 3 months in advance.
Right.
Ballista Grimm is in the series. I got to steal her after Tini was done with her. But it's been 20 years or something, so she's still very beefy, but also got that distinguished kind of gray patch that I'm super into. So
that's exciting. Let's get to the main event. Children of the Atom's coming out?
Yeah.
Hey, I'm gonna just say a description of the book, and I want you to tell me if any of these words are wrong. We have
blink twice.
Some disaster, mutant, teens.
Interesting.
Okay. We're not gonna go deeper onto that.
Well, We have Disaster Mutant. I mean, that any X-Men book.
Any X-Men book is
Any
Disaster
X-Men book,
Mutant.
that's true. I really wish I could tell you, like, even just about the first issue, because you in particular, I put something in there literally specifically for you.
That's very heartwarming, and now I'm very scared.
You will know immediately and laugh.
I'm pretty sure. Look, I'm guessing that'll happen. That's good, Vita.
I wanted to do that for you. You will see, but I wanted to do that for you.
That's very good.
Issue 1 for you.
This has been described as a bunch of X-Men fans who get to like be X-Men.
Yes.
That's such a meta pitch.
It's what I wanted. The very basic premise was not one that I came up with myself. That was my editor.
Chris Robinson?
Yes. But he was like, what does that look like to you? And I was like, well, they're Zoomers, so they grew up loving the X-Men.
Right.
Like, in a way that like only millennials and Zoomers can love things.
Are there a lot of water bottle clips? Do they still dab?
Oh, if I could get away with doing a dab in there, I will do it. Like I was saying on the panel.
Someone got to put a dab in Gwenpool, so you should be able to
but Gwenpool has got chaotic energy that like, if I can do it, I will.
You guys can't hear, but Leah's yelling at us. Leah Williams. We are doing an interview right now. Leah, your interview is like, I was going to ask you next.
Oh.
I just went out.
All right.
That's sometime this weekend. Also, they won't be able to hear you both on the same mic.
That's true.
I can just tell you that right now.
Are you sure?
Yeah, you guys, that's Leah Williams, and I guess this was the end of the episode's secret teaser content. No, you're fine.
I don't remember what I said. Oh, if I can get a dab, I will. Like I was saying on the panel, which I am now sanctioned to say because I said it in public, so they can't stop me.
It's already tweeted.
Like these kids, like one of them has a TikTok, one of them has a fitness Insta, one of them is just you.
Okay, well that's disturbing on several levels.
They one of the things that I wanted to do was explore the different ways that that contemporary fandom works, and how fandom isn't just about consuming, it's about creating, and that's really important to me as a person. That's why I've made it so long as a human being, and also a lot of people that I know and respect. And so I wanted to incorporate that as much as possible in the book. And so I was like, well, how do you do that fun, in a way that can look bombastic and dynamic on a page? And I was like, yeah, they're all little internet goblins. That's what they do. One of them is a Twitch streamer.
This feels like a book very specifically made for the most feral of X-Men fans.
One of the things that Jonathan Hickman, Papa Hickman, said that I immediately sorry, Dad, that I immediately really kind of took to heart was that for this new wave of X-Men, for the dawn of X, there's a book for everybody, and I think that's what X-Men should be. Right. I think that it's not necessary to make everybody happy with every book. I think that you should do your book, whatever it is, very well, and the people that will love it will love it. And I wanted a book for the feral people at X-Men. I mean, Leah also has a book for the feral people of X-Men.
Well, that's important.
But I wanted to bring that kind of energy to the book because, we have the magic book, we have the main book that's like a family book, we have all kinds of stuff, but I'm the kid. They asked us last night on the panel, or yesterday on the panel, what area of Kurokawa we would live on, and I was like, I've been thinking about this since I saw the map. It's the Wild Hunt. That's what I want. So I was like, all right, how do I bring that energy to this book? I want my people. And there was someone in the audience, it was one of the handlers actually, that was just like, yes. I was like, see? We're everywhere.
That's very good. Now, anything else you got coming up that you want to plug real quick while we're doing it? I know you got Quarter Killers going through Comixology.
Yeah, that's going to come out in trade soon. It will be available print on demand, but not super expensive. Good quality, but not expensive. So you can actually bring it home. Okay. Which is really cool. What else? Morbius is an ongoing. So if you like sad, scary vampires.
But he doesn't have the mouth hands, though.
And he never will. That's a nightmare.
He doesn't have the terrible mouth hand suckers.
No, I don't want it. That makes me want to curl up like a pill bug.
You give him all the other body horror stuff, but not the terrible mouth hands.
No mouth hands. That messed me up as a child. I have not been okay for a long time. If you like that kind of stuff, I try to have books that are very different coming out in the same time period, so that if you like my stuff, you still have, things that you can read. Like if you're not into vampires, I have a space book. I have Nebula. If you're not into that, I have X-Men. And, if you're not into that, I have James Bond with Danny Lore.
That's right.
So
You're doing the James Bond stuff.
yeah, that's super exciting.
Well, that's awesome. Well, Vita, thank you so much for your time. I hope you have a great convention.
Thank you.
All right, I am here with Gerry Duggan. Is it Duggan? Duggan. Okay, just want to make sure I'm saying it right.
Sure.
We've got Marauders already as kind of establishing, in a weird way, a lot of the geography of the island, the politics behind the scenes of the island. Are you the sole architect of that, or do you feel like that's more of a collaborative thing?
Oh, I think it's been very collaborative from the beginning. Jonathan, I thought I was going to I knew I wanted to do a pirate story. I suspected it would have been something I would have exploited outside Marvel, because I couldn't imagine doing a pirate book
Who's
at Marvel.
Who's going to be the pirates?
But then I heard Jonathan's story and was like, oh my gosh, like this could work. I pitched it to Jonathan and Jordan and CB, and it landed well. And but then Jonathan obviously accommodated it, and so in fact he really started setting my table in the minis, which was wonderful. And I've been the X-Men have always been my jam. That was I have Muty blood in my veins, and so I really wanted to write these characters. I knew that we could sort of pivot the Hellfire Club into something bigger, and it's landed. We have a lot of rope. I mean, we're here in Chicago to meet the fans and sign a lot of comics, but we're also staying behind and staying after. And
you guys have a retreat.
Yeah, we're gonna
right?
plan more.
Okay.
So thank you to everyone who took a chance on a book that I don't think you probably could have understood when we asked you to order it. Both the fans and the retailers. You didn't have the context yet to sort of understand what we were swinging for. But it's been a blast. We try to have fun behind the scenes, so that our artists have fun, so that the readers have fun, and I'm very glad everyone seems to have their sea legs right now.
Absolutely. One character who may not have her sea legs is Kate Pride.
Yeah, rest in peace, Kate.
Just saw a fan come up and say that he had trust that was going to go to his favor, and that Kate would come back someday. I'm not so sure. Should fans be worried?
I think anytime I'm writing a character you like a lot, you should probably worry. It's my job to torture these characters. In Kate's case, it broke my heart to, I guess, be Shaw's accomplice. But I think, there's still some things to play out. We've seen maybe some misdirected anger from Iceman in the most recent issue, or not. There were certainly, obviously, Verendi was there to, steal her DNA, and God only knows what would happen out of that. So they weren't blameless, but Shaw hasn't been caught yet. Shaw may not be caught. Kate, her friends are just finding out that about what's happened, and readers have been ahead of the mutants in that regard, and I don't know. I wouldn't say you guys are out of the rough water yet.
Okay. All right. So we've got more rough things to come. When I encountered your work for the first time, because I wasn't a Deadpool reader, was with your Uncanny Avengers run.
Okay.
I loved that run.
Thanks.
And your take on Cable there was a really fun one, especially with the talking arm.
Yeah, that was fun. I liked Bell a lot. It only made sense to me that there would be it's obviously a piece of almost absurdly high technology. You know, why wouldn't it have an onboard AI to help navigate and help direct? You know, the Uncanny Avengers was a real gift, you know, to be asked by Tom to follow Rick and play with some of those toys. That was, at the time, I assumed that was going to be my only dance with the mutants. You know, I knew I was going on to Guardians after, and but writing Rogue and Deadpool and Cable together, along with you know, some of those other wonderful characters, I really got a taste for Voodoo there. Some of my favorites, and some of those characters that I want to continue to revisit. So,
well, my compliments to you. I mean, during the time,
Thanks.
I think it felt like the most X-Men book when I don't know what my favorite X-Men book was at the time.
Well,
now,
you know, I had a murderer's row of talent, though.
You had
I
Pepe
launched
with you too.
Yeah, I launched with Ryan, and then Pepe took over for Ryan, and you know, it felt very good to be able to handle the story of Red Skull having Xavier's brain in Uncanny Avengers, being that it's business between X-Men and Avengers.
Yeah.
That you know, it was a nice bit of real estate, and I thought the way that I left it was wonderful. And then when Jim Zub took over and finished that volume with his collaborators, I think that's a really special book. Have they ever put that in a hardcover? I don't know.
I don't know if you've ever gotten an omnibus out of it, but it deserves it. You know, it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, write your senators.
Now, you're coming back to Cable again.
Yeah.
Albeit I don't want to say a maligned version of the character, but there has been pushback on what some fans call dial-up, Teen Cable. But we did
I gotta be honest, though. I could give two shits. I mean, it's my job to do what I know I should be doing, and if I gave you guys what you thought you wanted, it would not be what you wanted. You know, we have to have the you know, ability to change things, and you know, I'd written a lot of Old Man Cable. I don't think I would have necessarily just said yes to an Old Man Cable book.
Yeah. I think it's exciting, if only because I think if anybody can handle this, it's you. You definitely have the experience to nail this particular character, and I'm excited because yesterday during the X-Men panel, you guys let somebody read it, and he finished by saying, "You've sold me on Teen Cable."
That was cool. Yeah, I mean, I hope he wasn't just being nice to my face, but yes. Here's the thing, you're all going to love Cable because I think it does some unexpected things, but also Phil Noto is a god amongst men.
Agreed.
You're going to read and love it for that. So, you know, you're going to forget that I'm holding him back.
And plus there's cheesesteaks in space, so...
That one has a very specific... story thread that
really?
Yeah, there's like you know, there's a little bit of action that takes place in Philly, and it's this very, very, very funny scene, one of the funniest things that I've written, and that Phil just crushed. And then the cheesesteak is just sort of like, of course you were going to get a cheesesteak while you
went to Philly.
were in Philly. And obviously they're at that point having a moment about what the kids are up to. Which is a lot of fun.
Great.
A lot of fun. And of course, if you hate Teen Cable, f*** off. But while you're f***ing off, you can also be rest assured that Deadpool may have your back.
I was going to say, he's going to be the antagonist, so we'll get a little bit of a back and forth there, I'm sure.
That was fun. I did not ever want to write Deadpool again, but I couldn't say no after I agreed to write Cable. So
yeah, he's got to pop up. Well, Gerry, thank you so much for taking some time.
Of course.
I am happy to see long lines praising your work up and down.
Yeah, this has been nuts. So I usually try and walk around and see some friends in Artist Alley, but I've been kept busy, which is very good.
It is.
I'm doing something that I love doing that I'm not entitled to do, but I get to do it because I get to do it.
Well,
so
keep up the good work, man.
Cheers, bud.
Thank you so much.
Hey everyone, we're here at C2E2 and I'm with Leah and we're going to do this interview finally, dang it. What's up, Leah?
Hey, how's it
Leah
going?
Williams, she's a comic book writer. You know her, she's been on the podcast.
Yeah, love you guys.
Yeah, you're great too.
We tend to like bookmark the different stages in my career with a Battle of the Atom interview.
Okay, yeah.
We did one at the very beginning, and one right
it was before Extremist, yeah.
Yeah, but there was one before then.
Yeah, we did a Gold. Then we did Extremists.
Yeah, and now pre-X Factor.
Now it's pre-X Factor.
Perfect.
Yeah, it's the right time. Now let's talk about X Factor. So you got the Mutant Resurrection Squad.
I do.
iBoy's on this one. We got a Swole Daddy Deccan.
Yes.
What's up with this book?
What a broad question.
I know, I'm bad at interviews. You've done this so many times. How do you not know? What are you most excited about for this book? How about let's get it a little closer. You got a lot. You can't say everything, and that's fine. But what are you excited about bringing to the table on this X Factor of investigating dead bodies and souls?
Thank you for your specificity. I know exactly how to answer this now. What makes me feel like strongest moving forward and most confident is actually the fact that I am providing so many answers. I am clearing up so many things and exploring a lot of the nuance with resurrection, with Krakoan culture, with developing mutant culture, and all of the changing attitudes about this. I get to be the book that gives these things platform and makes them matter.
So it's like Hickman, and then you, and then everyone else in terms of importance. Is that what I'm hearing?
I mean, to me, so, okay, this is my favorite book in the lineup, which is actually saying something. My favorite Age of X-Men book is Vita's. It's
Prisoner X. Vita and Herman Peralta.
Amazing. They did amazing work.
Yep.
But I am so in love with this X Factor, and I've been getting pages from David. We just got colors back on the
David
first
Bowdy,
issue.
on your artist on this?
Yes, who we like trauma bonded during Gwenpool Strikes Back.
Right.
Which was a brutal creative boot camp for us, and we went through it together, came out the other side way stronger, and now we get to work on X Factor, which is paradise. Having that fourth wall intact, you know?
Not having to be too clever for your own good.
Right. Not having to justify this important character's existence.
Except for iBoy.
Except for iBoy. I'll do it too.
Yeah.
Hey.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. 100%. I don't know what's going
Vita's
on.
back. Vita's back.
Yes.
Vita's gone now. They planned this. It's a whole thing.
What was the question?
I don't know. We were talking about it's good. X Factor's good, right? We got distracted.
It's good, yeah.
Vita threw us off. Very chaotic energy. So X Factor's going on right now. You gave them all really good, cool new suits with David. What's up with the fashion on this? I've heard you put a lot of thought into the mutant Krakoan fashion that goes into iBoy wearing some Jinko jeans.
Absolutely. So, going into this, one of the initial kind of overarching concepts and direction that we got from Hickman was like every aspect of their culture as mutants is for the first time being allowed to develop on its own, free of prejudice, free of suppression. They don't have to worry about being seen as mutants and that kind of thing. So we get a new language, we get new fashion, we get new architecture, and this new world. So really like going hard on that in X Factor for new costumes and their new headquarters, which is called the Boneyard. I love it.
The Boneyard?
It's called the Boneyard.
Like from Lion King with the elephants?
No.
Oh.
like it looks like a big boner.
Wait. Like skeletons or the other thing?
Whoa. It's called the Boneyard, okay? It's awesome. Anyway, and the things that we were discussing, David and I are really collaborative on this. We talk constantly about different decisions and what we want to do most for everything. So what we agreed on for this structure, he's totally excited about Krakoan architecture. That's like his, most exciting thing that he's ready to bring to the table and showcase. What we agreed on is that this structure needs to be built for flight because we've got Lorna and Jean-Paul who can fly, and we've got Aurora. So we have people that can access this like a landmark because they see it from anywhere on the island. We also, for story reasons, need to put it in a more secluded area. Read X Factor and you'll know why. But it is like the home base and headquarters for X Factor. So the new fashions, informed by the same thing. What would they wear, not having any limitations on what they can create for themselves using Krakoan fibers, and also what's best for them as characters. iBoy, in particular, David and I were like a united front. So, iBoy.
His name's Trevor.
It's taken me like 5 minutes to make this point. I am so sorry. So,
fine.
I got 2 hours of sleep. David and I were a totally united front on our shared vision for Trevor, because in my lookbook document that I made going into this, about with like notes for character, costume changes, and updates I wanted to make, the direction I think we should take them in, I was like, Trevor's a fashion dumbass, he's a sweet boy, a teenage boy, and he's very much figuring things out.
Right.
In Age of X-Men, he gets to wear this like really sharp suit.
He's a mod.
Looks great. Looks amazing. He was also brainwashed.
A little bit. He was in a sex cult. It was a whole thing.
A lot of it. That's a lot of brainwashing. So we're bringing him back to who he was before then, in addition to, like, obviously the Age of X-Men experience carries over. So his comfort zone is dressing like a dumbass. He wears bucket hats. He wears like oversized clothing, and it doesn't always match. He's figuring it out. And Jordan, our editor, Jordan White,
JDW, he's notorious.
JDW, on behalf of fans, he was like, should we put him in something more attractive? This is ugly. And then David and I were like, that's the point. We both like fought for it. And what ended this like debate, it wasn't a debate, I was just very proud of David. What clinched it and what allowed us to pursue this direction is the fact that David was like, this is authentic. This is how I dressed when I was his age. I didn't know how to dress myself. I can't wait.
And obviously it was well received, because at the panel yesterday, Jordan did mention that the president of Marvel gave him a phone call and said, hey, those designs are really, really good.
It was totally unexpected, and it was an email actually. I got to see a screenshot of it.
Oh.
But yeah, I think it came into CB, and then CB sent it to Jordan, something like that. But yeah, the president of Marvel reached out specifically just to say the costume redesigns are great, and he likes them a lot.
They are absolutely fantastic. Now, last thing for you, Leah. Ten of Swords is coming up. iBoy has an eye sword. In the promo art, there is a sword with eyes on it, as if it was a Soul Calibur of some sorts.
Oh, you want me to tell you if it's like real or not?
No. Why would I ask that? That's a crazy question. Of course it's real, and I'm not questioning that otherwise.
It's not real.
Anyway, you excited for Ten of Swords? You guys going to be playing in that world?
I'm super excited. I don't know if they've talked about this before, but the way that we collaborated for the Empire stuff that we're doing is we did a round robin.
Yep.
And it means 10 pages passed from one writer to another, and we played a game of telephone where we were all subsequently trying to one-up the people before us.
Very similar to that Spider-Man Full Circle that was done recently?
Sure.
That's what they did, only over in one issue instead of 4 or whatever it is.
Yeah, so it's bad. Like, first of all...
Now I have to edit out a cuss.
And, sorry, bug nuts. Yeah! Nailed it! It's bug nuts, and we also had a blast.
Mm-hmm.
So now we get to do it in a more like a larger stage, something that Tini and Jonathan worked together on in creating this crossover event, and like what the story is, all of the cool stuff. Oh, and also the way that it came about is during the X-Men retreat, we were like, we need a really badass, sorry.
No, that one's fine. We say ass.
Okay.
I know, the lines are weird.
Okay. So we need a really badass crossover X-Men event. Like, what should we do? And then somebody was like, swords are cool. And then the rest of us were like, what's cooler than one sword? Lots of swords. So literally, that is how we made this event.
So what I'm hearing is that every post that has been made over, and yes, I have to censor myself now, every post that's been made over the last, let's say, about 24 hours,
I saw
100% on
100% accurate.
100% on brand.
Yeah, it's literally just, we were like, what's the coolest thing we can do? Swords are cool. What's cooler than swords? More swords.
I got mad at Annalise because I know she's been able to think about all these very good jokes for months now.
And she, I really wish she was at C2E2, but the fact that she hasn't been, it means she's just kind of like spite posting these excellent sword memes from New York while we're all in Chicago.
We all get swords now, guys.
And it's great.
But that is so good. Leah, thank you so much for your time. Very excited about X Factor and all the good swords we're going to have moving forward.
So many good swords. The iBoy one is fake, though.
Man, everyone, that was a super fun day. We're sitting here in the loft, eating Chinese food. Adam got on a plane, so he's not with us anymore, but we had so much fun. I'm sitting here with Charlie Davis right now. Charlie, what are you eating?
I had some sesame chicken.
That's fun.
Yeah,
What'd you do at the convention? Anything fun? What's the funnest thing you did this weekend? Tell me about the fun sweaty man. Well, I eat my egg drop soup on this side. Guys, this is going to be some bad mouth sounds, so hold on, but I do want this soup. That's some ASMR right there.
So this weekend, I did a lot of fun comic book things, but I went to AEW Revolution last night with my good friends at his wrestling show, if you don't know. And then this morning, I met my favorite wrestler, John Moxley, and we had a good time together.
You did, didn't you?
We did a good time together.
Did you get good art?
I got a lot of good art.
Did you get good art of Sweaty Men?
I did. I got three Sweaty Men and a Shatterstar. That's my new film.
That's very good. 3 Sweaty Men and a Shatterstar. That's great. And if people like the Sweaty Men experience that you had with the AEW wrestling promotion, which, guys, I've watched wrestling now. Did you know wrestling can be funny? There's this guy, his name's Orange Juice. He's wearing a jean jacket. He's very funny.
His name's Orange Cassidy, but you know.
Yeah, well, who cares? He's the only good wrestler, and the only other good gimmick is the best friends who are best friends. But if people want to know more about wrestling, this thing that I do not want to know more about, but if they do, because there's a cross-section here. Charlie, what would be a great place where they could learn a bit more about wrestling?
Yeah, so me and my partner Mikey, who you may know from the Young Ones podcast that is on hiatus, but it's not dead. We are starting a podcast called Match Club, which is all about basically going over storylines and feuds in wrestling. So we're going to explain some stuff, hopefully with the out and out goal of getting more people into wrestling and finding an easy access point for them. So you should be able to catch Match Club. Hopefully, I said bi-weekly earlier. I'm going to just say that I'm just going to call it a monthly podcast. That seems more realistic.
Good to have good goals.
Yeah. So you can catch that hopefully starting in the next couple of weeks. And leave ratings and reviews if you like it, because those are good. And if you don't and you listen to podcasts, I'm sorry, you kind of suck.
Agreed.
It's true. Or it takes 30 seconds.
Takes 30 seconds, so easy.
That's it.
Charlie, thank you so much. Now I'm sitting here with Christy, who is a foot away from Charlie. You may have heard her on this show or on the show Chris is on Infinite Earths, the best title in all of podcasting. Christy, how are you? You did an interesting thing this whole weekend, didn't you?
I'm doing great. And yes, I did. I guess to a lot of people it is maybe unique, but it is the way I do cons, which is not as myself. I was dressed as Captain Kate Pride from the Marauders, and that was really absolutely so fantastic. One of my favorite parts of cosplaying is just all the people that you...
I was fixing the microwave, the timer.
Really?
Yeah, I realized it made some beeps during this. I was listening though. You did a good cosplay, which we talked about all weekend. You were Kate Pride?
Yes, I was. One of my favorite things about cosplay is all the people that you get to interact with who wouldn't maybe normally strike up a conversation with you. children, adults, lots of folks. I got to meet some other fun cosplayers. One of my favorites was this very darling young lady who was dressed as Captain Britain. She was so sweet and so impressed with my cosplay.
She gave you a flower for Krakoa.
She gave me a Krakoan flower and also told me I looked young enough to get into cons for free as a child. So she's my favorite.
That's good. It's been a real fun time. I'm not a cosplayer myself, but I thought that your cosplay was absolutely phenomenal. It was the talk of the town.
Oh, thank you, Zach.
You were the most important person in Chicago this weekend, I'm pretty sure.
You know, I was back from the dead, so I think that's pretty important.
It is pretty important. Anything you want to say before we move on?
I've just had a really great time hanging out with all of you guys, you, Zach, here in the loft, and getting to enjoy the con with everybody and just ride on the waves of the good vibes of Xavier Files.
Delightful. And now on the other side of the table, I have talked to Chris Edelman. Chris has been on the show more than one time. He has a beard. We saw pictures of him without a beard earlier today, and he looks baby. Chris, how are you today?
I'm not baby.
You're not baby? Are you daddy?
He is.
Oh my goodness. It's spicy content for the podcast.
Yeah, guys, we're trying to stick away from the explicit tag, so could you not with your marriage games?
You asked.
I did. This is on me. Chris, did you have a good show?
Yeah, it was a really great show. We got to see some of our good friends, like Vita and Leah and Tini, and our new uncle, Gerry Duggan.
Uncle Gerry.
Uncle Gerry.
Gerry's very good.
He's very good.
He wears sunglasses inside because it's bright sometimes.
But it was a really great con. Far too many people apparently have heard of our whole endeavor.
Yeah, by the way, if you guys ran into any of us at the show, thank you so much. For me personally, it meant a ton to hear all the nice things you had to say about all the stuff we did.
We have very big heads now over it.
Oh, Bud. There was a certain comic creator who shall remain nameless, but he did say that he really liked our stuff, and I was like, no, you shouldn't do that. You shouldn't read this. You're important. We're not.
But it was very nice of him.
Yeah, Al Ewing's the best, so name dropped. So, no, it's a lot of fun. We got to talk about the new event, Ten of Swords.
Yes, we got to talk about the new non-X-Men event, Empire.
Yeah.
A little bit.
Yeah, which does also have at least 2 swords, if not more.
There's several swords in it. Teddy has a sword as the King of Space.
Yeah, we are a swords podcast now.
Yes, I'm sorry. We are fully transitioning into swords.
Yeah, we're going to talk all about swords. Chris, we were going to buy swords today, but what did you say?
I said we are not buying swords.
But I wanted to buy a sword.
You did want to buy a sword.
I told you you could buy the Cloud Strife Buster sword. It's very big.
Yep. I was worried about Swords on the Train. I thought they'd be upset.
Swords on the Train sounds like a very good movie you could have been a part of. Now, if people want to hear more about swords or events, where should they go, Christopher?
They can find our event podcast, Chris is on Infinite Earths, on all their podcatchers, and you can catch all our writing work at XavierFiles.com.
Guys, this has been a super fun con. I wish all of you could have been here. Thank you so much for anyone who got to stop and see us. It's been an absolute blast. Talking to creators and fans and just everyone. There's a good community here, and getting to meet Adam. He doesn't know this, but I think he's the best. So he's got that going for him, which is nice. If you want to support us on the Patreon, you know where the Patreon is. It's at the Patreon link. Search for Xavier Files or Battle of the Atom. You'll find it one of the 2 ways. If you want to talk about other stuff, I mean, we're on Twitter. I'm at Xavier Files, and Adam's at Arthur Stacy. Everyone else is at like Genetic Ghost or Strictly Worst or Christy Edelman or Chris's Pod. There's a lot of good things. I don't know what Charlie's Wrestling Podcast Twitter is. At Match Club Pod. At Match Club Pod, they just yelled from the half wall that I've been sleeping behind. I got banished to this small room because sometimes I snore at night, and that's not fun for anybody. Luckily, the Chris has bought earplugs for everyone to share in. But guys, this has been super fun. Next week, I think we're talking about Krakoa, but not the Krakoa you think we're talking about. Until then, this has been Battle of the Atom, and we hope you survived the experience.
Yeah.